Well, hello everyone. Ketan Pandya here, and I love to talk to fellow friends that are all across the country. And today I have the pleasure of having Agni Mitra. Agni is in Arizona, and we'll hear from him in a minute. We're going to learn about what the Arizona market is and something that we may not consider. Just similar to Northwest Arkansas, what you have seen, you will learn today what's going on in Arizona and why invest in Arizona. So I have been looking at the Arizona market since the last couple of years, since I've been meeting Agni in different conferences. And I thought I should record this and share it with you. Thought you might be interested in learning about another awesome market and another awesome agent. So, with that, Agni, let us know, introduce yourself, tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Agni, and I actually in the Scottsdale area, which is a suburb of Phoenix. So I pretty much cover the entire greater Phoenix area, which is 17 major cities within there. So which is all kind of thrown together. So it's a very vast area. Maricopa County is, I think, the second largest after Bernardino County in the LA area. This is the
Wow.
second largest county in the US. So very large a population of almost 2 million people within the Phoenix area. The other big cities in Arizona are Tucson and Flagstaff. Very wide variety of climate. When you think of Arizona, you think of like just the heat, which is really
Hmm.
Phoenix and Tucson. It's a desert climate, very dry. The great thing about Arizona is that there are no real disasters. So we are kind of insulated from any storms or tornadoes or as the like. That's some of the things which people like. There's the weather here. We do have some sandstorms, but that's about it, really. Uh, um, During the monsoon season, there's some amount of rain, but that's another point you should be you should know that a lot of people think that, oh, it's a desert. What am I going to do about water? Well, water is not a problem here. Any new division which has to be built, they have to have 100 years supply of water, assured supply of water, before they can even build anything over here. And there are a lot of underground reserves, as well as there are some from the runoff from the north, which in the Mount Rockies, and from the Colorado River, the runoffs from the snow caps, they actually flow through the Colorado River and downstream through various canals throughout Arizona. And they are kind of stored in various reservoirs, which are kind of big lakes in around the northern Arizona and around the cities as well. So they are very well positioned to have a really good supply of water throughout the state. So
Mm.
no worries about any kind of water supply shortage over here, which is a big question a lot of people ask. In terms of employment, so you may have heard the news. In fact, I'll share a little bit of a video over here, if I may.
Sure. Yeah, our audience would be interested in learning what's causing the economy, what's driving the economy in Arizona.
Right. So one of the major news which came out recently is
By
this.
the most powerful company in the world.
Good evening. A major announcement for Arizona's growing tech industry. TSMC is expanding as part of a $100 billion investment. Thanks for joining us tonight for 12 News. I'm Mark Curtis.
And I'm Karima Devine. TSMC is the largest chip maker in the world, responsible for making the tech that powers everything from our cell phones to military hardware. 12 News journalist Bram Resnick is joining us in studio with more on what this means for Arizona. Bram?
Caribe, Taiwan-based TSMC plans to more than double the number of chips factories that it's building at its desert site in Northwest Phoenix. By the end of this decade, if the plans come to fruition, Phoenix could be to computer chips what Detroit was to cars, the nation's capital.
Thank you very much.
President Donald Trump portrayed TSMC's plans as a matter of economic security.
So I won't play the whole thing, but bottom line, one of the big things about Arizona is there are a lot of, oops, that's one thing I need to.
You're good. You're good. So the chip manufacturing used to be in Taiwan, and what I learned
Correct,
was that a lot of the chip manufacturing is moving to United States and to
correct.
Arizona. Did I get that right?
That is correct. And so if you think about the tariffs, right, there's a lot of talks about tariffs. If they are going to be built in the in the US, then that doesn't have any effect on the economy. So that will be huge because then the chips which are produced here will be competitive to some of the chips which are being produced elsewhere. So that's a big, I guess, selling point about having all the chip production in-house in the US. So already actually Apple has shown have pre-orders placed with TSMC, which is in production already in the first plant. The second plant is already being built. And then the third plant, which is another massive one, is going to be starting breaking ground, I think, end of this year or beginning of next year is the projection. So lots of good
Great.
things over there.
That sounds so exciting. So give us some perspective. So exactly which part of Arizona are these factories going to be? What's the population today, and what's the projection of the population in 5, 10, 20 years from now?
Yeah. So obviously, I don't have a very crystal ball, but the population has already been rising because of the different industries which are coming in. Uh, Semiconductors are being one of on the forefront over here. Right now, the population in the greater Phoenix metro area is about close to 2 million, and it's projected to grow at like 200,000 per year. Can you just imagine that? That's a projection. I mean, of course, there'll be pluses and minuses, but even if it is half of that, I mean, that's a tremendous amount of growth for any city, right?
Right.
So that's
What
projected to grow in the next 2 years. That's the projected. Of course, it'll slow down after that, but that is the projection right now, just because of the semiconductor industry and the peripheral industries and the assembly sites and all of that. Um,
what I've heard is from economists that when a
mhm.
population of an area grows about 0.8%, you want to
Mhm.
invest in that town. So when you talk
Correct.
about a 200,000 or 100,000 population growth for a couple
Right.
of years or whatnot, that's around 5%. That's 5 times more or 6 times more than what the economist typically calls. That's huge. And
Mhm.
so once that population grows, you got infrastructure, you got roads, streets, highways,
Mhm.
schools. There's just all kinds of jobs that start opening up because of that. So that's great. So tell us a little bit about what's the median sale price of a home, of a single family home? Do they sell duplexes, quadplexes, triplexes? Like
Yes, to do.
if somebody wanted to buy
Correct.
a 1 to 4 unit, what is it?
Correct.
Can you paint the picture as to the median sales price of the home, median sales, median rent that they can get per unit per
Sure.
bed? What's the dollar per square feet on sale of a home and a rental property? Just give us some perspective.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it varies quite a bit, but the median sales price right now is about $480,000 in the greater Phoenix area or as a
Is that
whole.
for single
Uh,
family?
That's for a single family home. For condos, you won't get anything great. Condos and townhomes, I think you have to go like 250 and above to get something which doesn't need too much fixing up, right? Now, if you want something newer in townhomes, then you're looking at the high 300s, low 400s, even in the outskirts of the city. Especially like but there's an opportunity there because in the north of the city where TSMC is, there are some townhomes in the Peoria area where exactly TSMC, this is a town which the TSMC plant is being located. There are some things which are available in the mid 300s, low 400s, single family homes, as well as townhomes, which are probably a little bit less, like low 300s. Uh, so there is a big opportunity to buy in those areas. Rent, I would say, if you look at just the cap rate, so taking in everything into all your expenses account, for a single family home, you're looking about like a 5 to 6% cap rate, depending on exactly where you are. If you're looking at um, condos, you might have a little, or townhomes, you might have a little bit better cap rate, of course. But again, it's what you're looking for, right? Because in single family homes, you will have a much better appreciation of the
Mhm.
home, whereas townhomes and condos will not appreciate as much, though you'll be making a lot more money over money. I mean, basically the cap rate will be better. Um, Duplexes, again, yeah, I mean, I would say you can range depending on what you're looking for. In some parts of Phoenix, you can find some decent ones up in the 400 to 500 range. Of course, the rent won't be great. It'll be like the cap rates might be in the 5-6%. So you can find some in the 5-6% range. But duplexes, again, you have to worry about occupancy depending on
Mhm.
where it is. So that's the caveat to that. If you're willing to spend a little bit more, then you are in an area where the cap rate might be better and the occupancy rate will be a lot stronger.
Mhm.
You probably have to get into the 600, 700 range for it to make sense to invest in those areas, just because of the occupancy rate and the way it's located. So things which are located in a much better area, obviously, we'll be paying a premium for that. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, great. So if I had $100,000, or let's say if I had 80,000 or even 50,000, I have people with different that have different
Sure.
budgets for an
Right.
investment. Let's pick 100,000, right? What
Okay.
can 100,000 buy as an investor in Arizona? Would you recommend them buying a piece of land and sitting on it, buy it in cash and sit on it? Would you bet, would you suggest them to buy a rental property? What would you recommend?
Depending on what exactly they are looking for. If they're looking for the upside and appreciation, then yeah, land would be great, because the city is still expanding because of population growth, as like I mentioned. By the way, to the east of the valley, there's a lot of a city called Mesa, which is one of the largest
Mm-hmm.
cities over here. There's a huge influx of data centers. You may have heard of like Meta. They build like a massive data center in East Mesa. And there's like another company called Nova, which bought out I think they spent about I mean, tens of billions of dollars for a data center. Just this, they committed to spending that and they started building that earlier this year. Um, and Apple has already got a data center in Mesa. So all those influx of industries also is driving that portion of that area as well. So going back to your question of what they would spend, I would probably project of what you're looking for. If you're looking for appreciation in the value of the home because of the growth
Mm-hmm.
of the city, then I would
Mm-hmm.
probably say steer you towards a single family home. If you're looking for money over money, then again, I would steer you towards a condo because you can spend a lot less and get a really good stream of income. Yes, it'll appreciate, but probably not as much as a single family home. So
Mm-hmm.
depending on how much you want to spend for example, if you're doing $100,000 and
Mm-hmm.
you want to get a good cap rate, I would probably steer you towards a uh, a condo or a townhouse if you want
Mm-hmm.
a return on investment quickly. But if you're willing to wait a little bit to get the equity side or upside, then I would probably
Mm-hmm.
say you spend that 100,000 towards like a $400,000 home, so 25% down, and then you get yourself on the upside as on the equity of the home as well as get some
Gotcha.
rent, good rent. Uh,
So roughly, let's say single family home, three bedroom, two bath. Roughly,
right.
what's the appreciation rate on these
So yeah,
year
of
year
course,
over
year
year?
over year it
Let's say,
changes. Like
Hmm.
So last year, like for example, in East Mesa, a client of mine bought a home in like they bought a home at like low 400s, right? So
Hmm.
$415,000. Already this year, that was just last year. This year,
Hmm.
it has already gone up to close to 500,000. So you can do the math there.
Right.
And that's on an average in whole of Phoenix,
Hmm.
it has appreciated about 4% from last year.
Mm.
So on an average, but because
Yep.
of all these industries coming in, I think
Hmm.
depending on the area where you're going to buy, it can go a
Hmm.
lot higher. Like in North Phoenix or East Mesa, I would say it'll grow much higher than that over the next couple of years.
Got it.
That's a
So,
projection.
right. So when you look at, so a lot has happened in the last 5 years with COVID and a lot of turmoil,
Hmm.
a lot of turbulent economy, right? Shifts in US and in everywhere. But when you extrapolate last 10 years or 15 or 20 years, what's the median or average, year over year sales growth? In like in my town, the single family 3 bedroom 4 bath has appreciated 4.5% year over year. Now, if I
Hmm.
just look at micro specific years, let's say past the 2008 recession, then I would get a little bit less, or it's what was flat.
Sure,
But then
sure.
when I extrapolate that, the CAGR in a financial term is
Right.
around 4.5%. So
Yeah, I would
so
say
that
if you take the COVID time, which was kind of crazy growth, right? I mean, you have 20%, 30% growth in some areas of town over here. If you
mm,
take beyond that, I would say 4 to 5% is, I mean,
okay. So that's
over the
comparable.
5 years. Yeah, I would say that would be the.
Then how about rental growth? So in my town, a 3 bedroom 2 bath, a single family 3 bedroom 2 bath would have appreciated, like it used to be around 1350, now it's 1850. So do the math. I think it's like 6 or 7.
Hmm.
Whereas for a multifamily, a duplex or 1 to 4 units, it has grown 10% year over year in the last 10
Hmm.
or 15 years, which is incredible
Yeah,
amount of growth. So
right.
it's very attractive for rental property investors in my town.
Right. Like I mentioned, I mean, it really depends on the city where you're in.
Mm,
Rentals that are like in say Chandler or Gilbert, it has gone up like crazy. It's gone up like 6 to 10% in single
mm,
family home rent. So uh, people are going out of the Gilbert area just because of that. So they're moving towards East Mesa. But again, over there, because of the high growth, there's
mm,
that is kind of driving the demand up there. And over last year, I think there was a 5%, but I think that's going to be a much higher in East Mesa beyond the next couple of years. So, if, for example, for like a $500,000 home in East Mesa, the average rent is about for, I mean, a good condition, of course. I mean, 1,800 to 2,000 square foot home. It's renting out like 24 to 3,000, depending on the condition.
that's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's
yes,
around 80 cents per on the or 90 cents on the dollar, something like that.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great. That's
So,
awesome. So so on an upward shift for rental,
mhm.
what's the prospect for the rents to go up for a rental investor?
um, So last year, I mean, from 2023 to 2024, the rents actually went down a little bit. But
Mm,
again, this year it has gone up. I just talked to one of my investors who bought a home in East Mesa. Their home was renting out for about 2,400. This year they re-signed the lease for 2,600. So
mm, wow.
$200 gap
Wow. That's
increase
a
right there.
very
And
high. Yeah.
yeah.
In Arkansas, we have certain guidance between landlord tenant laws where
Correct.
you cannot go above a certain I don't think they have any prescriptive kind of guidance, but I
Hmm.
usually don't go above 3 to 5%. But I know apartments that have gone up 7, 8%,
Oh yeah.
10%, which is ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a good shift into talking about what are the landlord-tenant laws in Arizona. In Arkansas,
Yeah.
it's kind of pro-landlord. What does it look like in Arizona? Is it pro-tenant or what?
It's a very
How
balanced
easy
way.
is it to evict a tenant that's failed to make their payments?
Oh, on the eviction side is very much towards the landlord over here,
Mm,
as opposed to places like California and Washington. So a lot of people are buying from there. This is a
mm,
very much pro landlord. It's really easy. I wouldn't. I mean, of course, you still have to get a eviction order from the court, but after that, after you get that, it's very easy to get the tenant out
mm.
if that's the need arises. So so on that note, it's very very good. But again, to your point about being a rental increase, yeah, you can't just raise the rent willy-nilly. There's some guidance to
Oh yeah,
that. It
yeah.
depends on the city to city. The five, in some places it's 5%, sometimes it's a ceiling of 7%. So really depends on. So you have to be very careful about which city you are having your rental in and follow the guidelines there.
Got it. So when you talk about taxes, so that's another big thing that savvy rental property investors always are worried about is what kind of taxes are we talking? So I understand the rents for a $500,000 home is going to be around 1,800 to 2,000, and then
Hmm.
let's say if you're buying a 200,000 on a $100,000 or 25% down payment, your mortgage payment is going to be exceeding your rent. On top of that, what are the taxes like in Arizona? Property
Let me
taxes.
actually, yeah, let me actually share my screen over here
Oh, that'll
to
be awesome.
get to show you a couple of
Yeah.
case studies. So, can you see my screen over here?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is actually real life scenario. So this
Mm-hmm.
was a new brand one investors had bought. So they bought the house slightly above under 500,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their monthly rent to begin with was 2,600.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the yearly rent. So you can see the property tax. The first year, of course, this is a new build, so property tax was next to nothing. I mean, it was like
Wow.
$495, right? So they made a killing there. Um, the same people, they actually increased the rent to 2,700 when
Mm,
they re-signed. I think this last February, and the HOA remain is a little high because they have a lot of um, extra amenities. They have like swimming pools and fitness centers and all of that. So it's a little
mm.
high. But so just bear in mind. In fact, they are looking again and they said, hey, can we look at something with a little bit less HOA? And there are definitely quite a few options there.
That's a lot of HOA for sure.
Yes, it is definitely a little bit high, but you can charge a little bit higher rent as well because of that, right?
Mm.
So you can
Looks
factor
like
that
the
in.
neighborhood has a lot of amenities.
They have a lot of amenities. They have coffee shops. They have, I mean,
Mm,
swimming pools, fitness
got it.
center, parks. Yeah,
In
whatever you
in
want.
Benton, in my town, most of the times when you have a neighborhood with those many amenities, they don't allow a non-owner occupied home buyers. So looks like in your town they do allow non-owner occupied, so basically investors
Oh
to buy
yeah, yes,
these kind of properties. So that's good to
yeah,
know.
and the yeah, and renter can actually get the keys. I mean, the fobs to the fitness center and everything. So there's
Very
no
nice.
problem with that. Yeah.
Very nice.
Uh, So on this specific case, the property tax for the year was 2,700, little less than 2,700. So you can see the property taxes are not a big deal as opposed to like someplace in like California. I don't know how it is in Arkansas, but that's one of it's not bad. I mean, it depends on. I mean, this again actually because it's Mesa, it is a little bit high. Uh, in a typical $500,000 home, supposing you look at it in Phoenix, it can be low as 1,400. So really depends on the city where you are. So you
Got
have
it.
to pay attention to
Does
what
it,
everything
does
is
the
different. Yeah,
age of the property would probably matter as well? The older the home,
of
the less
course,
the taxes, right? So
of
good deal.
course,
So that
of course.
that makes a lot of sense. How about vacancy rate? Like when a property goes on the market for rent, how
Hmm.
many weeks before it gets rented out, you know?
So because this was in East Mesa, this one rented out, I mean, in weeks. Like we
Mm,
sold the home in 2 weeks. Actually, he wasn't even trying, and he got like, I mean, he hired a property manager, but within weeks of it, it got signed and the tenant was in place. So I think it was in just 2 weeks, and one of the week actually he was putting in window covering. So, so you
got
can
it. So I'll let you walk through this example here, and I
correct.
don't know if you have any. Feel free to share any listings, and then we'll be done on this call. So walk us through what this looks like, and then if you have any pictures, that helps as well. Of
Sure.
what's the property look like when you buy something like this? What does it look like?
Absolutely. Actually, I don't have the thing. I can look it up. Give me 1 second.
All
Um,
good. And then while you're doing that, I think to the audience, when I
yeah,
buy a rental property, 1 to 4 units, if it's more than 4 units, it's a commercial property. I look at cap rates. When I'm
correct.
buying 1 to 4 units, I'm looking for cash on cash return. So, factoring in the current interest rates does matter. But, I'd rather buy a property when the interest rates are higher than having to bid on the property when the interest rates go down. And now there's
Right.
20 other buyer competing offers compared to mine. So when the interest rates go down, it's easier to refinance than to go find a home or a rental property at that time. So,
It's pretty similar that way. So this is the home in question.
mm,
So as you can see, 2,600 was the thing for last year. This time
mm,
it was not for an MLS, so I don't have the thing for, but it actually did rent out for 2,700. They
got
just
it.
told me
I
that.
see the roofs are flatter. Is it normal for the roofs to be flatter?
It's sloped, but yeah,
Okay.
it is sloped, even though it doesn't look like it. It is actually a little bit peaked in the middle.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
you
That
have to
looks,
have that, otherwise, yeah, you'll accumulate
yeah.
water and
Is
stuff.
this
Yeah,
stucco or what kind of material, or is this
it
brick?
is stucco. It is
Okay.
stucco, and you have yeah, tiles. It's like a Spanish style home.
Mm,
Um, So inside, this is, as you can see, this was they didn't even have the the deck oven and everything in place at that point in time.
at the time, yeah. It looks
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. So you
Is
have
that
like nice
ceramic
floors,
ceramic tiles?
ceramic tiles, wood. Actually, it's wood.
LVP.
The wood look for tile, like those ones which are the wood
Nice.
face. Yeah, and carpet in the bedroom. Nice like walk-in
Mm-hmm.
closets, and bathroom
Mm-hmm.
with all the new fixtures. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
regular shower in the guest bathroom. So it's 3 bedroom, 2 bath. The another thing nice is that this one has it was near the uh, parks. So
Mm-hmm.
this was a corner lot uh, on the
Nice.
park, and there's a skate. If you go down this path, there's a like a skate park over there. So as I said, a lot of amenities over there.
Mm-hmm.
So which is kind of nice. So it's actually set back from the community road, and you have a big park right in front of your house. So
Nice. That's beautiful.
so
Well, that's great.
yeah,
So cap rate of 5. Could you give us
yeah,
a little bit perspective on what cash on cash would we expect? And I understand you cannot break even. It would be negative potentially, but
right.
then I think our audience would want to learn what the cash on cash return is on something like that.
So I mean, you would probably, I mean, because in the first year you would probably gain a little bit because of your property tax being so low.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you're talking about cash on cash,
Mm-hmm.
uh, depending on how much you put down, if you're going to put $80,000 down, then you probably will come up a little bit on the negative
If
side,
it's an investment in Arkansas, you could
right?
put 20% down, but the lenders that I have, they've got programs with minimum 25% down. I don't know what the
Yeah,
case is in
that
Arizona.
that is correct. If you're an investor, you want to put 25% down, otherwise you will paying a higher interest rate.
Correct.
So yes, you would
Correct.
definitely want to put a 25% down. That
Not
is
that you
the
cannot
same over
find
here.
one, and not that you
Yeah,
cannot find one in 20%, but
correct.
the interest rate will shoot up maybe
Exactly.
50%. Yeah.
Exactly. So you definitely want to put 25% down. I would probably put, in order to make sure that you break even, and then ride the wave on the upside for the equity, I would probably put like 30 to 40% down. That's my advice, at least in the
Got
Phoenix
it.
market for new, at least if new for new construction. So
Got it.
um, for an older home, you can probably, I would say, cap rate if you put about, again, I would probably go to about 30% down. You might,
Mm-hmm.
for a $500,000 home, you might make about $100 to $200 on the positive side per year. But
Got
then
it.
I mean, for a single family home, I think the aim is mainly to uh, go a little bit ahead,
Mm-hmm.
but again, you're going to cash in on the equity, right? So
Got it. Okay. It's a
that's
long-term
the
invest. It's a long-term
exactly
investment. It's not something that you're going to buy for a few years, for sure.
right, right. Now,
So,
if you look at a duplex, this was a fourplex. Um,
mm-hmm.
Again, you're spending a little more money, 700,000. This is in a very decent area,
Mm-hmm.
but you can make. I mean, if you disregard the mortgage, which I know you can't, but if you
Mm-hmm.
disregard that just on the amount of rent you get versus
Mm-hmm.
operating cost and everything else, for NOI, you can get about $60,000 um,
Mm-hmm.
for a $700,000 home. So kind of
Mm-hmm.
cap rate of a little over, like almost 9%. So, so that kind
That's
of
it.
gives perspective. Again, based on this, now the rent may not go that high. The occupancy rate would be actually was very good for this particular unit. The
Mm-hmm.
occupancy rate was actually 90% for the year.
Yep.
So which is kind of nice. Uh,
I prefer duplexes over even
yeah,
triplexes or fourplexes because they have just perfect
yeah,
uh, combination of maximizing your profitability, managing the tenants. When you have three
correct.
tenants, triplex,
Yeah,
it's a little bit more mess in terms of managing a tenant. But duplex
exactly.
gives a lot of benefits that single family home or triplex or quadplex don't.
Yeah.
So,
Now, another things a lot of people are considering nowadays is properties with ADUs.
mm,
So, like with a casita in the back, so they are actually
hmm,
staying in there and renting out the casita, or they're
hmm,
renting out both sides. Like especially if it's if it's an investor from out of state, they could rent out the main home as well as the casita, and they'll have separate
right,
entrances and everything, separate
right,
parking spot, and they can even subdivide the backyard so that they each have a known private garden, and you can make quite a bit of, I mean, as good as a duplex in terms of
got it,
cap rate on that.
got it,
Now, again, if you want to spend a little bit less, then I would probably suggest a townhome. So this was actually
got it.
exactly a townhome, which a client bought last month. And you can see you can get pretty good monthly income on some of them if it's located in the right place. And for this particular area one, you can make a cap rate of 6.8, almost 7%, without
Mm,
outlaying that much cash.
got
So,
it. This is amazing, Agni. Thank you so much. So, audience, what questions do you have? Let me know, and I'm happy to connect you with Agni. And Agni's been a great friend. We've learned so much about each other's markets, and just we brainstorm. We meet every now and then on different mastermind sessions, virtual, and then we meet each other at least once, if not twice a year during our Keller Williams conferences. So again, Agni, I appreciate your time, and I look forward to a
likewise,
session with you where I can showcase my market to your audience. So thank you
I
again.
would love to do that. So yeah, thank you so much for your for this, and this was fun.
Appreciate it. All right. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.